So, you've hit endgame, and you're wondering, how do I develop now? We spend so many years going through the game and thinking, oh, I need to get this galactic legend, I need to chase down this journey guide event, I need to do X, I need to do Y, I need to get my TB teams ready, I need to get my teams ready for the raid, etc, 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 and it takes us many years unless you have the fattest of wallets. So in today's video, we are going to talk about what you have to do once you hit the end game from the position of an end game player. Let's talk about it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen of the tribe, to another Galaxy of Heroes video with me, your bald-headed boy Scribe. How the devil are we doing? I hope you are ready for your daily dose of swagger. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the end game, as it were. 15 million of your big chunky GP. And this is the funny thing, right? The position of what endgame is dynamic. It changes as the game continues to expand. The way that I like to classify endgame is you are literally chasing what is new. Okay, that's the only thing that you have to invest in. You've finished all of your journey guide events. You're able to do all of the things that you need to do within game. You're maxing out your raid personal score. Obviously, that could be different. If there's a brand new raid dropped, you're probably not maxing your personal raid score. And you've prepped for all of your events. Now, technically speaking, by my own definition, I am not 100% endgame because there are still SMs in TB that I don't do because I just don't want to take things like, I want to say it's Cassian and CX2 to Relic 9 and stuff like that. I'm not quite there, but I am mostly there. So, when you get to endgame, the game does change quite a little bit. There are a few constants that you will always be working on because, quite literally, you will never have enough of them. And one of those is always going to be mods. You are forever going to need mods because there are many teams and many new teams, and you can always get better and better mods. So mods becomes almost more of a priority as you go into the late game because you're going to have the freedom to invest your crystals wherever you damn well please. You don't necessarily need to be constantly refreshing things like your regular energy and your ship energy. You're definitely doing your mod energy. These two energy sources are where you're going to spend most of your crystals, which is your cantina refresh energy and your mod refresh, okay? Now, every single day, I do recommend you do 3 cantina and at least 3 on the mods. You can go all the way up to the 6, spending, 450 crystals a day on mods if you like, all right? And that's going to be spent just doing the normal things that you do to farm your mods. Now, if you are curious about how I build out my mods, I recently put out a video going over this is how we go ahead to farm mods, all right? It's relatively high level and maybe overly simplified because it's a very deep subject, but I go over my approach, okay? So you're always going to be doing that. When it comes to your regular energy, the way that I like to spend my regular energy is to just farm this node here for Chirotech. It's not because I need Chirotech. I really don't need Chirotech in terms of gearing individual units. All I need my Chirotech for is for the scavenger, because the scavenger over here can take my Chirotech and turn it into aero magnifiers, or it can turn it into droid brains. Both of these things are critically important if you want to continue to invest relic levels in your new units. And it drives back to what do you do at the end game, which is most likely all you're focused on is gearing the new era units so that you can get the next journey guide event, in this case Rot of the Hutt, and in the near future it's going to be GL Mando, we presume. Not officially announced, but basically soft announced. Do you know what I mean? He's going to be a New Republic, probably going to be a Mandalorian, going to be called Din Djarin or something. Anyway, you're going to be spending your crystals getting marquee packs, most likely, in order to get these to 4, 5, or even 7 stars. That's usually the touch point. You either go to 4 stars if you just want a very easy unlock, 5 stars if you want to get the most out of the legendary event, and 7 stars if you are a big massive whale like myself and you spend on error levels at the top end so that you can get a 7-star unlock of the journey guide day 1. I'm not saying that to be endgame you have to be spending money. You really don't. If you've finished everything else, you can just 5-star these with your crystals. If you are a minnow, I recommend you go ahead and you purchase the Episode Pass Plus, because that will give you enough shards to get a 5-star unlock of the Journey Guide unit in one pass without any further expenditure needed on anything error related, which is still, in my opinion, a very, very good investment to make. Okay? If you are part of that cadre of people that go to the 5-star unlock, the rest of your focus should be, once these units in the era journey guide go into legacy and they become farmable, they should be your focus. You farm them up until they are 7 stars and you'll be able to get your legendary journey unit. Is that because the rotter in this instance is phenomenal? No, it's not. It's just because you might as well. What else are you going to use your resources on? You might as well get the new Journey Guide unit. He's probably going to be required for something down the line, and it looks like in this instance, Rod of the Hut is going to be phenomenal. Also, we already have it confirmed that so far, out of the 3 marquee units that have been released for this era, all 3 of them are required at some level for the next Galactic Legend. Every single announcement has confirmed that. So, essentially, we'll have a look down here just at the bottom. Colonel Ward is a requirement at 4 stars for unlocking the Journey Guide event for Rot of the Hut, and will be a requirement for this year's Galactic Legend. Have it there, plain as day. Every single newsletter we've had for every single marquee so far has confirmed that. Okay, so people that are endgame, you're farming your era units. Either whaling, using your crystals, or waiting for them to go to free-to-play farmable, and you're getting it. Now, I will say, for the majority of players, getting the legendary unit from the latest era is very good if you are in the early and mid game, simply because you are going to get yourself up to 5 lightspeed tokens that will take units to 7-star, R6, I want to say, and have all their Zetas. That in itself is worth it for most people because those are really, really good uses of your investments, right? And it feeds into getting yourself lots of additional era currency, which will then feed into getting yourself all of the really, really juicy materials that you can get from the era shipment store, namely impulse detectors, era mags, girder keypads, droid brains, and flawed signal data. I just buy all of this right here. Now, what I do recommend is that you always, with that era currency, try to keep yourself a backlog of coaxial servo motors. I don't think you need 243. I just have a big backlog because I was spending my era currency on this before we had this, and I built up a big chunky backlog of them. So that essentially gives me 12 R10s. Now, if you are part of the cadre of big whaley boys that go for the 7-star Journey Guide unlock day 1, well, technically day 7, then I recommend you always hoard at least 1 Relic 10 for the Journey Guide and try to save up all of your materials to get R9 on all of the other marquees. It's very clear as day why I say to do that, okay? No, I'm still getting out of my old muscle memory here. You do that because essentially, at the end of each era, we get 2 sets of brand new era battles. Those era battles will give you absolutely phenomenal rewards at the end of it, but the very top tier requires you to have the latest Journey Guide unit at Relic 10 and the other marquees at Relic 9 in order to compete. And it is worthwhile doing if you are in that late game position and you can afford to do this. This should really apply, like I said, to those endgame people that are sort of 14 million plus GP at the point of this video that I'm making. Because essentially for those 20 servo motors that you put in, you're going to get 60 back. So you're going to get yourself all of the servo motors that you invested, plus an extra 2 lots of servo motors for 2 more Relic 10s. It becomes a self-perpetuating thing. The other side of it is you get the brand new units at Relic 9 and Relic 10. Future-proofing your account for anything that's coming out in the future. New raid uses new marquee units, congratulations, they're all at Relic 9 or Relic 10. New Galactic Legend comes out, requires marquee units, fantastic, you're already done. Also, you'll be able to immediately transpose them into brand new TB teams and anything that might come in the future. That final tier of the era battle that releases gives you 1,000 crystals, 5 servo motors, 5 girder keypads, and 5 droid brains every single time it runs, and they'll run 6 times each. There's 2 of them, so 12 runs in total. You get a lot of stuff for your investment. It does not fully pay for itself across those 12 runs. They do occasionally come back in the future, maybe once or twice a year. Over the very long term, they probably do pay for themselves, but it is still very much a worthwhile experience to do if you are in the very late game. If you are not whaling to 7 stars on these units, you do not need to worry about taking them to Relic 10 and Relic 9 straight away, okay? If you're only going to 5-star unlock on new marquee units, take them to Relic 7, Relic 8, whatever is actually comfortable for you at home. Alright, so where do we spend the rest of our energy? We've already spoken about regular energy. I like to just farm out this Chirotech node because it is a good one that'll let me get lots of stuff that I need for relicking. When we're looking at Cantina node, there are a couple of nodes that I like to farm. Right now, I'm farming 9D because this is giving me flawed signal data, which is going to be the biggest crunch that you've got in the late game when it comes to investing and gaining more relic levels outside of the relic maps themselves. Always need flawed signal data. The reason I'm farming this one right now is because it gives you a whole heap load of fragmented signal data, which I will then be able to go over to the Xaereth Scavenger, and I will be able to convert that into corrupted signal data for when I want to Relic 10 something. Now, my approach at the moment is to make sure I've at least got 15 corrupted signal data so I can do one Relic 10 at any time. You only ever use your fragmented signal data, in my opinion, to create corrupted. Okay, it takes about 363, I want to say. I think it takes 363. 360... No. 362. 362 corrupted signal data in order to make 15, which is what you need to go to Relic 10. So I'm farming that node so I can just slowly keep on top of my Relic signal data that I need, the flawed signal data at the top, build this up. Once it gets to 1362 or whatever it happens to be, I'll go ahead and turn that into corrupted signal data. I'm hoarding enough signal data here, or at least the aim is to hold enough signal data here, so that by the end of each era, I can R9 all the marquees and R10 the journey guide unit. If I need other sources of signal data, any other type, so for me, I will go to the Swigger events page, the gear page, and see what I need. I'll show you that in 1 second, and I'll farm the necessary node that I need in order to do it. If you need more than one type of signal data, Sector 9 of Cantina is your best friend, okay? Because you'll get 2. Even though the flawed signal data drop rates is about 20% less than what you get in Sector 8, the fact that you're getting 2 different types of signal data, the Omicrons is really, you know, it's whatever, who cares? I know some people care, but in the very late game, this is less of an issue, right? If you need more than one signal data, which you will almost always need more than one signal data, just farm the ones that you're short of and convert from there, okay? I don't really recommend this node. If you want fragmented signal data, you should probably be farming this node. If you need this incomplete signal data, you should probably farm in this node. However, if you only need tier 3 signal data, the flawed one, go ahead, go to Sector 8. But generally speaking, across the long term of the game, you will always need every single type of signal data, especially if you start investing into Relic 10, and eventually down the line, it will become Relic 11 and 12 and 13 and so on and so forth ad infinitum until we hit Relic level 69. Nice. So that is Cantina energy. We've spoken about mod energy, and I'll do the very, very high level approach for my modding that I do. Like I said, if you want a full rundown of how I do this, go ahead and see my video guide that I put out recently on it, okay? So I will always do at least 3 refreshes of mod energy every single day, and I like to farm these first 3 nodes until I have 300 of the necessary materials, okay? I'll do 300, I've got loads of this one, 300 because that gives me plenty of supply. Once I've hit about 300, I will go into mod battles, and then I'll use my energy refresh, farming the necessary mods that I need to farm for whatever set that I want, okay? Is it speed sets, offense sets, crit chance sets, crit damage sets, defense sets, who knows? Typically I don't farm health sets, but if you're late game, you know how to farm mods, alright? That's just my approach to using mod energy. Finally, fleet energy. I, of course, do not refresh fleet energy whatsoever, and I'm still learning how to navigate this. I do not refresh fleet energy whatsoever. I just farm 2E. 2E lets me farm out fusion furnaces. I like fusion furnaces for the same reason that I like farming Chirotech. I will transpose that fusion furnace into, not impulse detectors, where is it? Girder keypads. So if I need a load of girder keypads, which I will do at the end of an era, usually because I'm looking to do like 6 R9s and 1 Relic 10, that is a lot of girder keypads. What is that? 120, 140 girder keypads, I want to say. Might be a little bit more than that. Might be 160 girder keypads. So you're going to need a lot of fusion furnaces. Right now, I can only get an extra 20 on top of the 60 that I already have here. So we have got a long way to go right now. So that's the node that I farm almost incessantly. Now, I will often supplement that by using guild currency to get even more of that stuff, and I'll go and use like Grand Arena currency to get even more of the necessary gear that I need to turn into signal data. Because ultimately, at the very late game, you barely need any gear whatsoever. The only characters that we are gearing in the end game is going to be Conquest units, not even Journey Guide units, and presumably Galactic Legends. We haven't really had our first Galactic Legend as part of the Era system. I'm going to assume that Galactic Legends are going to drop like instant Journey Guide events where we have to gear them all up in the organic way. I do not think we will get Galactic Legends in the Era leveling system. Don't think that's going to be a thing. So most of your gear you will not need. Well, you will not need it for gearing. You will most likely want it just to break down, to create yourself additional relic materials to keep on investing in your teams, okay? The final bit of energy that we can't see right now because the event is not active is Conquest. And Conquest is twofold, okay? Conquest, in my opinion, it's very important to make sure that you red box. If you are an endgame player at 14 million plus GP, you will sing, dance and waltz your way through Conquest because you have all of the toys and all of your stuff is going to be relatively high relics. You're going to have good mods. It's going to be easy for you. So at the very minimum, an endgame player should definitely be red boxing Conquest to make sure they get the Conquest unit day one. For the endgame player that is very much invested in Territory Wars and Grand Arena Championships, you're going to be spending a big chunk of crystals farming datacrons from Conquest because they are what makes the decision in who wins and who loses most of the time in endgame GAC and Territory War battles, okay? So you'll probably be spending at least 6 energy refreshes every single day on Conquest, blitzing through Conquest day 1, getting to Sector 4, farming all your materials as quickly as possible, and then converting those materials into additional datacrons to give you an edge, or at least give you parity with people that are in your GAC bracket, okay? You can see over here, like, I don't have boatloads and boatloads of datacrons, but I got a decent amount. I've obviously started prepping for this new datacron set that has just dropped. There are a couple of things that I do want to farm from this, but I tend to, when a new datacron set drops, I'm not going to be that big whale that is like, let's get this, let's spend a bunch of real world money getting all the materials that we need to level up these datacrons. I don't do that, but I do use my shard shop currency to buy the datacron, because my income of shard shop currency is quite high in the late game. Everything I get in terms of shards converts into additional shard shop currency, which I will then spend on data cache, on converters when a new set comes out, converters Mark 1 and Mark 2, and additionally I will get myself a whole bunch of these new datacrons so that when I farm the materials, I don't then have to worry about also farming the base datacron because I'll have a big chunk of them. As you can see, usually I'm getting to about 15-ish datacrons per set, which is quite costly in terms of shard shop currency, but generally it's self-sustaining. It just keeps on going and going and going. The very last part of late gameplay, end gameplay, is brushing up on the rest of your roster. There are going to be many shortcuts that you've made over the years playing this game that have left gaps in your roster. They might not be glaring gaps, but they could be little things like, oh, I've not finished this SM team for TB. That's going to be worth a couple of hundred, guild event token points every 2 weeks. Not necessarily a couple of hundred per character, but in your guild, if everybody does it, it soon adds up. Trust me, fam. So you might be looking at things like, oh, I don't know, maybe your Old Republic, let's say. Maybe your Old Republic, it's an older team, it had an uplift with Satil Shan coming to the game, but maybe your Jedi Knight Revan is only R5. Maybe a Basti is R5. Maybe a Jolie's R5. So it's just sort of like when you have that little spare bit of capacity at the end game, just look to bring those relic levels up on those units that you have kind of forgotten. Like currently right now, Salty has got a brand new datacron that looks pretty phenomenal, loads of additional damage, but mine's only at relic 5. And because that datacron does damage based on all the relic levels on all units across the team, taking her up to relic 7 or relic 8 might be something that I might look to do. Probably not, because I think it's an incredibly niche datacron and I don't really have any use for Salty in my game currently, but it's that sort of thing. Maybe you're looking at it and thinking, oh, my Tuscans need a little bit of love. Or maybe you have neglected your Night Sisters and they need a couple of relic levels to increase. Maybe you are missing things like Peridia Patrol for the for the Peridia Patrol Assault Battle. Maybe you just need to get those two and Captain Enoch to Relic 9, and then maybe you think, oh well, I shared Captain Enoch at Relic 9 and I got the Troopers at Relic 9. Do I have capacity to maybe throw the TB Omicron on Enoch? I mean, I could do that if I wanted to, but I don't really want to. You know, it's little things like that. That's kind of where you'll spend your resources in the end game. And you've got to try and prioritize it on your own necessities, essentially. Because everybody is going to need something just a little bit different. Right, me, for example, I might be looking to increase my Inquisitors to Relic 9 so that I can use them in, I think it's the Death Star, the very final end, and like maybe even Iden Versio, because she has a combat mission on the Death Star that will help my guild get more territory battle points. All that sort of thing is endgame. I would say that little uplift, the way that I do it, when I look to focus on like the non-current stuff that's in the game, I'll only ever do it once I've finished the last era's units. So essentially, we'll finish an era, we'll get a new assault battle, or an era battle, rather. I'll make sure, if I've got all of these to Relic 9, Rotter is Relic 10, I'm prepped for the era battle. Then, for like maybe a month, I will think, okay, where can I invest in my roster? What units can I take to Relic 10? What units can I go up to Relic 8 or 9 for, you know, a month maybe? And then it goes back into Horde mode, hoard all your signal data, all that sort of stuff, so that when the next era drops, you're ready to just go and drop everything. Don't forget, of course, we do also have Conquest units. We will also need to make sure that we can take Conquest units up to a relatively usable relic level. Not only that, of course, Conquest units often are lifters for other factions, so do I need to look at investing in Cara Dune and Lobot and taking them up to more useful relic levels? It's areas like that that you need to be cognizant of in the late game so that you're able to jump on the advantage of the rule of new, which is new units come out, there is a golden window where those units are usually very, very powerful thanks to brand new datacron and the limited availability of information that people have on how do we use this unit? How do we counter it? What value can we get offensively from this unit? Is there an era battle that is here temporarily? All that sort of good information. Really, really useful to be able to jump on it straight away. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up. I know this video has got a very different audience to much of my audience, but I want to make sure that I'm putting out information for players at every point in the game. So I like to cover a lot of early stuff when I do new journey guide unlocks on my alt account. I do a lot of stuff for general day-to-day when it comes to Colosseum, and I want to make sure that there's something for the endgame player as well. Hopefully, this video has benefited somebody somewhere. If it has, please do leave me a like, and if it hasn't, leave me a like as well, and comment down below who your favorite unit is in the entire game. I will see you all in the very next video. Peace out, and may the Force be with you.